Legal mindset. Andrew. Definitely a good man.
Today we have some breaking news about the case of Vitaly in the Philippines, and today we know that Russia has officially disowned Vitaly.
Ooh, that's gonna strike hard. Because if you don't know, Vitaly actually did some nasty stuff in the Philippines, and he got busted, and he's on his way to having his own lockup problems in the Philippines. And going back into my history, really way back, I have a friend who basically he has a Filipino wife, and he owns property in the Philippines. He has a farm. He goes there twice a year to make sure things are going on. He's had his own issues with some stuff, like his brother-in-law all of a sudden did something that was really bad, and it had to do with stuff that was going on his farm property. And then all of a sudden he was extremely worried that, the stuff that his brother-in-law had done could cause them to extradite him from the United States, because there's that. And he'd be facing time in a Filipino prison. And he ended up talking to me about that kind of stuff and how nasty it actually is. So, yeah. If you go to Southeast Asia and you are going to do things and you are not an actual person from that country, you're going there to visit, mind your P's and Q's. If you don't know something is legal or illegal, ask before you try to go forward and do something. And if they say it's a no-no, steer clear of it, because you do not want to deal with things, because you don't want to catch a case. The least they'd be able to do if it's a minor thing is kick you out the door and kick you on a plane. At the worst, they're going to stick you in like a sardine into one of the nastiest rat holes you could ever imagine.
That's right. They want nothing to do with his shenanigans. Of course, this is a legal mindset. We teach you to be your own judge. I'm Andrew Esquire, American attorney here in Asia, covering the downfall of these nuisance streamers like Vitaly and like Johnny Somali, who think they can come to other countries and take advantage of their hospitality, of their politeness, of their high trust cultures, and get away with literal crimes. So in this case, we've covered of Vitaly. Obviously, things are not going well for them. He is locked up and facing 2 to 3 years even before he hits his trial, and then several years in jail after that, even based on concern.
Yeah, this is where all of a sudden I see this going on, and me as a streamer, I actually worry, because I want to be able to go to Japan one day. I want to be able to visit and talk with the people. I want to actually be able to enjoy a few things. I will be honest, I have tattoos, so I'm pretty sure I'll never get to a hot spring in Japan, because they actually have requirements on that you do not have tattoos. They have their own taboo on that, and I understand it. And I mean, it would be great to actually go visit the sites, pay homage and respect, and enjoy my time. However, people like this are actually ruining it for the rest of us. Those of us who want to be respectful and go. Because what ends up happening is you're going to run into signs that say, no foreigners, no gaijin, no... Yeah. And all of a sudden it's like, okay, so I can't go in and do the fun thing. I need to go somewhere else. And it just eliminates the opportunity to visit and be respectful and take in the culture and see how things actually are there. I mean, that's the big thing of going to a different country. If it's actually a good country to go to, experience what is there, because there are people you could make friends with that could be your lifelong friend for the rest of your life. And they could show you things that you had never experienced and never understood. Expand your worldview. It's better to do that than to go somewhere just to chase clout and try to ruin things. And it just kind of hurts me in the heart just a little bit, thinking that there are people in the world that do this just for the love of money.
Conservative estimates. But beyond that, a lot of people are looking for the international response, a response of the US, of Russia, of countries where he stayed and has citizenship. And a lot of people were asking questions too. Well, what's going to happen with Russia? Is he going to be sent back to Russia? What's going to go on there? We have the first really big public response from Russia, and that's to disavow him, to say they want nothing to do with him, and to actually call out his actions as something that Russians should not emulate. So I've got this news article here from GMA News. This is the ambassador to Russia over here at the top, Marat Pavlov, at the Russian embassy in the Philippines. So going through this, Russia's top diplomat to Manila advised Russian travelers to strictly follow Philippine laws after a popular Russian-American prankster was arrested for harassing Filipinos. Vitaly Zorovetsky, a vlogger with over 10 million followers.
I'm glad Andrew can say that name, because it'd take me a little bit of work to get that one out.
On YouTube, where he posts prank videos in countries he visited, was apprehended by Philippine authorities in April for his series of law-breaking stunts. Zorovetsky, who goes by the content creator named Vitaly, drew the ire of netizens after uploading videos of him harassing Filipinos while filming around Bonifacio Global City. Of course, we've covered that. He committed multiple crimes very clearly on camera, during what he called his demon time, trying to steal a service weapon, stealing some various objects, threatening to rob an old woman, as well as harassing people when he was in Boracay as well. So Boracay, Bonifacio Global City, really going on a true crime streak. And the ambassador says here, Russians, are obligated to be in conformity with the law of the country they are staying in.
And that's a common thing that you need to know. I mean, if you're visiting a different country, you're beholden to their laws. And I've been out of the country. I've actually been to Europe. And trust me, the laws are different from country to country. And what is a crime in one country also could not be a law in a different country. And you have to pay attention to these different things. Like, for example, the one thing that I had to be mindful of when I was in Scandinavia, I actually found out that at the time, they had it set up that as an American, you just had to put through a couple of pieces of paper and you were able to legally drive with your American license. I was amazed. So for a time there, I actually got to drive in Scandinavia. It was awesome, I'll admit. But driving down a fjord, that was scary because the side rail was just one single wire. And you can see the drop and you're like, oh boy, better be careful. And of course, minding the speed limit as a foreigner, you don't want to get stopped, because if you have to have a police interaction anywhere in a foreign country, you are going to need to mind your P's and Q's and be as cooperative as possible, because this is somebody that can just eject you from the country right there, because they can just take you into custody and say goodbye. So yeah.
Said Russian ambassador Marat Pavlov. So to be very clear, what he's saying in here is you are obliged to follow local laws. This is what I've been saying from the beginning. And this is the thing that really is so crazy that it has to be said to the modern generation of streamers, particularly nuisance streamers. They think that they are not obliged to follow the very basic laws of the countries they are in. They think they're immune from them. They think they don't have to follow them because they have a certain passport. And the Russian ambassador has it right on the nose here when he says, hey, listen, it doesn't matter whose passport you have, whether it's American, Russian, Chinese, Japanese, Korean, whatever, you need to follow the local laws. That is something that the fact that it has to be explained to people is insane. The fact that it has to be put out there is really nuts, because...
Hard agree with Andrew there. Yes, that it has to be explained. It's... When you get your passport, when you are given your passport, I mean, as an American, if you go through the steps to get a passport, if you read the documents when you are applying to get it, you are explicitly told this in the print when you are filling it out, that when you are outside of the country as an American, that you need to mind your P's and Q's, follow their laws, because you are beholden to their laws. And that's that. Because you could go to a country that does not uphold the freedom of speech. I mean, you could go to Germany, and there are certain laws that they have there that you cannot say certain things, or you will be in violation. I mean, it's also like currently right now, I mean, paying attention to some of the stuff going on in England. If you actually were to use your Twitter or Facebook or whatever, and you say a spicy tweet or something like that, or you say something on the street and it's a violation of their local laws, you can get held accountable for that. And you are on your own with regards to your representations. You are stuck with their laws. And it is on that government's choice whether or not they are just going to boot you from the country and ban you from ever returning, or they're going to decide, hey, this is egregious enough, we're going to deal with you properly, and you may never be returning home for the next several years.
There is a generation of people, there's a whole cohort of people that are saying, hey, look, we don't need to follow these rules because, hey, I'm an American, I'm a Russian, I'm whatever, I don't need to follow these rules. That's not true. You absolutely do, and you will be held to the standard of those countries. Do not be surprised if you violate a law in that country, if you are treated as that law system would treat you. And Vitaly is certainly finding out about Philippines justice. So let's continue with this because he has some more really good statements here. So there's around, according to the embassy data, 5,000 Russians living in the Philippines. That's a significant number, and 30,000 visited for tourism in 2004. Pavlov says he generally finds that many Russians residing in the Philippines are disciplined, really disciplined. And I would agree with that, by the way. There's a lot of Russians here in Thailand as well. I find they're very disciplined, very polite people, often family people, really great people to deal with. And
there's a reason for that, because like I said earlier, my friend who has a Filipino wife who is still living in the Philippines and taking care of the farm, they have to be, because there are some serious repercussions if you are a foreigner and you are in their country. They have some strict punishments with some things that even an American would consider okay. Over in America, it's just a fine. It's a misdemeanor. We can pay the citation. We can pay the ticket. We don't necessarily have to go to court for it. We can just sign on the dotted line, pay cash on the barrelhead, and it'll go away. You just admitted your guilt and whatever, and you move on and have a nice day. But over there are some of those that we would consider that's a jailable offense. You're going to wind up having to go to court. You need an attorney. You have to go through all of the rigmarole for that. And then next thing you know, the judge actually bangs his gavel and says, yep, have a nice day. You're going to be spending the next 6 months to a year. And they'll give it the exact, because from what I understand from following Andrew here is the court systems over in Southeast Asia, they don't do a parole system. They actually give you, here's your sentence, have a nice day. Take him away.
Very respectful. I don't see issues with most people. And this is not just Russians. This is true of most people. Most tourists know how to be respectful, know how to be polite, know how to care for the local culture, know how to give back, know how to contribute. It's not that difficult. It's not that difficult to come to a country and follow their laws and follow their culture. It's a very simple thing. And if you cannot do that, if you have the inability to do that, stay home. It's just a prank, bro. Does not get you out of jail for free.
As I said, a prank could be fully illegal. Depends on what you're doing. And there, like, for example, just on an aside, Johnny Somali is facing obstruction of business. We don't have that in the United States. You can get trespassed. I mean, if you make a nuisance of yourself in, say, a grocery store or Walmart or whatever, and they'll trespass you from the place, and you're on your merry way, you might get a ticket, and you'll be able to pay it. But you're not going to be spending the night in jail. Not unless you make things egregious and you're fighting with the cops and you make an entire spectacle of it. You know, there are escalating things. And, you know, if you move on, you move on. However, in South Korea, what Johnny Somali was doing, he wound up making a nuisance of himself inside of a 7-Eleven, and yeah, they took it very serious. That included jail time. And he's facing it. And I basically pray he meets Jesus, is the only thing I can do. Because honestly, he's in his own cycle now, and the only person who could probably help him is God right now.
It really does not. And the fact that some people think that that is a get out of jail free card, it doesn't work that way. And it's a disrespect to the people that are there residing lawfully and respectfully. And here's the kicker. At the same time, Pavlov expressed hope that Russian visitors will not face discrimination despite Zordovetsky's behavior, and that future cases involving Russians will be handled discreetly by Filipino authorities. So this is very clear here. It's a condemnation of Vitaly's behavior, saying, hey, we don't want everybody else to be held to that standard because it's pretty crazy. What he did was insane. It was illegal, and it was inappropriate. It was absolutely inappropriate. And for him to do that is something that no country is going to come out there and save him. And if the message that they would have sent, if they were going to come save Vitaly, would have been, okay, well, we stand against the Philippines here. We think that he's unjustly detained. We think that he's been taken with, no due process, etc. And they would have come and said, we're standing up for Vitaly. But instead, they have not only rejected, they said, we disown that behavior, and we hope that his bad example, that what he did that is clearly wrong, is something that is not held against other people. And by the way, I don't think that Filipinos are going to hold it against other Russians. I think it's very welcome for people to come. Same way in Korea. I feel Korea is welcome for Americans, is welcome for all people, despite Johnny Somali, right? Same thing with Vitaly. I think the Philippines is still one of the most hospitable places I've been to in the world. I think Philippines hospitality is second to none. It's absolutely amazing. And I don't think that changes because of Vitaly. I think Filipinos and Filipinas are smart enough to know, hey, look, this was a bad egg. This was someone that was a exception, not just for Russians, but for all people. And
that's where it comes down to the sad part. Like I said earlier about Japan, they've been attacked by nuisance streamers so much so that a lot of shops are just starting to actually assume that all foreign people are just, if you look like you're an American or a Russian or whatever, then life is going to be a lot more difficult for you to actually go around places. And I know of one person who is a YouTuber who is over there, is married to a Japanese man, and I hope she is actually doing okay with everything with regards to all of that. I mean, she is a polyglot. She's part of the polyglot group, speaking multiple different languages, but sometimes I wonder how she's doing with running into those shops that are starting to actually blockade from anyone who is a foreign looking person. I mean, some of the signs actually have said in Japanese print, if you can speak Japanese, you're welcome to come in.
Vast majority of people that come to the Philippines as tourists are having a great time, and that's shown because year after year, the more and more tourists visit the Philippines. Now, of course, there's been a little hiccup with COVID. Obviously, things are still recovering after that, but we see the trends generally over time, if you smooth them out, going up. More people come to the Philippines, love the Philippines, have an amazing time in the Philippines, and they come back. And they're respectful. They have good things to say about it. And I think that's a pattern that will continue in the future. And I hope that people that see this message, if you're thinking about coming to the Philippines, please do come. One of the best things you can do to stand up to Vitaly, to oppose him, is to go to those countries, be respectful, and be a good example. But let me know, what do you guys think? Like the video if you like my coverage of some of the nuisance streamers, of Vitaly, of this case. I want to know in the comments below, and I will catch you on the next one.
Are you guys enjoying the stream today?
Yep, I had to play that one off because, yeah, that's a final clip on him. Because, yeah, that's what was happening. And with regards to Johnny, yeah, he got branded the loot goblin over there, so he's having a rough time. Because, of course, South Korea will not take him into custody. They're probably not going to do that until all the court cases are done.